This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guest one of Alabama's great treasures, Dr. Edwin Bridges, better known to most of us as Ed Bridges, who served over 30 years as our state archives director and has a great history. He knows more about Alabama history than anybody in the state. And he's retired now, but we brought him back on the show. He was on probably a couple of years ago, and I got to tell you, it's probably one of the most popular shows we've ever had. Ed and I got talking about the history of the Indians here in the state. We didn't get much further than that. But Ed, thanks for coming on out. He still has his office down there at the archives, y'all. And I want to personally thank Ed. I've got a book out, some of y'all may know about it, called Of Goats and Governors, 6 Decades of Alabama Political History, colorful political history. And Dr. Bridges wrote the foreword for it. I was so flattered, and it's been such an honor to have him on my book with me, Goats and Governors. You can get it through New South Books here in Montgomery or on my website, either one. But Ed Bridges wrote the foreword to my book, Goats and Governors, 6 Decades of Alabama Political History. On the cover, we've got some of the most famous Alabama political characters of the last 6 decades. We've got Big Jim Folsom. We've got Governor John Patterson. We've got Governor George Wallace, Governor Lurleen Wallace, and Governor Albert Brewer. And we've lived through that era, haven't we?
Yeah, and there are so many wonderful stories. And in the book, there are wonderful stories.
Well, I want those stories told. Some of the stuff Big Jim did, you can't make up. Facts better than fiction, you know. But, you know, prior to the show, Ed and I were talking, and it's been about 7 or 8 years ago when I had Governor Patterson on the show. He wrote a book, New South Books published his book, too, about his time as governor and his life and the stories. And you were so kind. He's now living up in rural Tallapoosa County. Tell our viewers about that. He's living in a place called Goldville, where he was born and raised.
Yeah, it's back in his old family place. And he and Miss Patterson have taken, I think it's an old kind of fishing hut they had there on the lake, and fixed it up. It's still kind of a rustic cabin, though it's, you know, they fixed it up. And they live there, and they have a wonderful time. And they have a goat.
He's supposed to be raising goats up there. Tell him about that goat.
Well, I don't think they're raising goats, but they had a goat that just wandered in on them one day. A beautiful white goat, and it kind of adopted them. And it's wonderful. When they go around the house, the goat goes around outside the house looking in the windows at them.
Is he still, he's on top of his game,
He's
isn't he?
wonderful. He's
in his 90s.
He's in great shape. His mind is clear, and he's one of the most intelligent and insightful men I've ever known.
I've got some good stories in the book on Governor Patterson. He gave me himself. When he was on the show, we sat and talked about different things, which brings us to an interesting time in Alabama history, Alabama political history. He's the first one to acknowledge that he, of course, won the Attorney General's office on a sympathy vote for his father being assassinated in that Phoenix City story. And I think most of our viewers probably know the story that it must have been around 1954.
That's right. That's right.
54. Yeah. The Phoenix City was just a complete corruption, sinful city. It was one of the most sinful places in the world. It had corruption, gambling, prostitution, everything. His father had been run for Attorney General to clean it up, and then became assassinated by that mafia over there, which made it a sensational story. Then out of sympathy, they named him Attorney General. Then out of sympathy, 4 years later, he won the governor's race, 58. But y'all have got some down at the archives. Y'all have got some memorabilia about Tennessee, don't you?
And I think there are a lot of the trial records there. I mean, the investigative records. The Assistant Attorney General Bernard Sykes, who handled the investigation.